Yah, we come before you right now in the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach. We thank you right now, Father Yah. We acknowledge that this is a day that you have made, Father Yah, and we should continue to rejoice and be glad in it, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just thank you. We come against all hindering ruach, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against all ruachs of depression, Father Yah. We come against all ruachs of anxiety, Father Yah. We come against those ruachs that cause panic attacks, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just come against anything that's not like you, all forms of sickness and all forms of bitterness, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just want to uplift the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach, right now, Father Yah. And we just thank you right now for just allowing us to progress in the things of you, Father Yah. We thank you, Father Yah, for just allowing us to be able to operate, Father Yah, in the Ruach HaKodesh, Father Yah. And we just want to just magnify your name for this day, Father Yah. We enter into your gates with thanksgiving, to your court with praise, Father Yah. Just uplifting the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach. Father Yah, we break the ice right now. We're not under no type of stipulations or anything that's got anything to do with politics, Father Yah. We just want to freely begin to uplift the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach, Father Yah. Father Yah, I just thank you right now because there's none like unto you, Father Yah. Father Yah, I want to take this time alone just to barak your name right now, just to let you know that you're worthy, Father Yah. We're not under any stereotypes, Father Yah. We just want to just come to you right now, magnify your name right now unto him that sits on the throne and unto the Lamb of Yah. We thank as your word said, where there's two or more gathered in your name, we just thank as you said, there you are in the midst, Yahushua. And we thank you as we welcome you in this place today. We thank you as we just usher in the presence of you right now. We just magnify your name because you're worthy. Thank you right now in the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach. So be it. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Right, today we're going to be dealing with primarily 1 Samuel chapter 15, talking about kill it all. We're talking about, kill it all. If the Most High said to destroy something, he wanted to destroy it, whether it be something that's going on in your life or attitude, anything that you're doing that's not pleasing to the Most High. Kill it all means kill it all. He didn't say kill some of it. He said kill it all. It don't mean that you can do part of a task, and that's not going to be the Most High's will. If he told you to go and do two things and you do one of them, come and let the Most High know, let somebody else know that's actually a representative of the Most High that you have done everything that the Most High said do. That's not everything. That's doing part of a task. It kind of reminds me of the actual prophets in the last days that's going to say that not we prophesy, that not we heal the sick in your name. He's going to say, depart from me, for your work was of iniquity and unrighteousness. Just because you did heal the sick and prophesy and you begin to carry on like a heathen and a sinner, you're not accepted in the eyes of the Most High. You didn't do the will of Yah. You did something, but it wasn't everything that he said do. He said kill it all, not some of it. And so we're going to go to 1 Samuel. We're going to read, go to 1 Samuel 15. We're going to go and read verses 1 and 2 first. $6.47.
That's 1 Samuel 15.
Verses 1 and 2.
Verses 1 and 2. Okay. Samuel also said unto Shual, Yahuwah sent me to anoint you to be king over his people, over Yashral. Now therefore, hearken you into the voice of the words of Yahuwah. Thus says Yahuwah Sabaoth, I remember that which Amalek did to Yashral, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Mizraim.
All right. And so the reason we read verses 1 and 2, because we want to give a little history on how important this is to the Most High, that all of the Amalekites be destroyed, not some of them, because when they were coming up out of Egypt, after they had crossed through the Red Sea, they were on their journey going towards what we would call the Promised Land, the Amalekites would just come out and begin to attack them. And the fight was unprovoked. It was nothing that Israel done until the Amalekites to cause this fight to take place. They just did it because of the fact that they saw people coming and they assumed that they were weak enough to conquer. And we're going to go to Exodus, page 97 for you, Exodus 17, and we're going to read that 8th verse first in Exodus 17 to give a history of back. This is back after the children of Israel, hundreds of years ago at this point, were coming from up out of Egypt on the journey. And at this point, these are the same Amalekites that actually were supposed to be being destroyed in 1 Samuel chapter 15. And the Most High doesn't forget The problem is, before we read it, is that we think because a little time has passed that the Most High has excused the situation. Goes for us, Judah, that's over here now. The Most High is not just going to let, the ones that are here get away with what they've done because it's been a few years. 400 years, this was more than 400 right here. And so we're not going to just go back and say, okay, everything they've done to us when we came, just because we came here for disobedience doesn't mean that the Most High is going to let them actually get away with what's going on, because he said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And in this chapter, we'll see where the Most High wants to repay them. And as we fast forward to 1 Samuel 15, that's where the payment time is coming. But this is where the actual transgression was done, where the sin was done in Exodus chapter 17, verse 8.
Okay.
Please read it.
Exodus 17 and 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Yashraal in Rephidim.
Okay, now this is what I mean when I say then came. They came out of nowhere. They just came and started fighting. There was nothing that was done. There was no back and forth. They just did a sneak attack on them. And so going down to Exodus 17, starting at that 9th verse, is going to give a little bit more history. Just go to the next one, basically.
And Moshe said unto Yahusha, Joshua, right?
Yeah.
Choose us out men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of Elohim in my hand. So Yahusha, Joshua, did as Moshe had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moshe held up his hand that Yashraal prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moshe's hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. That's
good. Yeah. And so basically, it's just giving you a little history of this fight took place back then. And it was a sneak attack on their part, but the Most High had respect for his people because he allowed a spiritual thing to go on, where Moses' hand was being held up, the battle was being won. And let's go down to 14, the same chapter, verse 14.
And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, write this for a memorial in a sefer, and rehearse it in the ears of Yahusha, Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. And Moshe built an altar and called the name of it Yahuwah.
Go ahead.
For he said, because Yah has sworn that Yahuwah will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
Now you see that, and that's when you see something and it says forever in the scripture, generation to generation. We're going back to Exodus so we can see that it wasn't out of nowhere that the Most High wanted Saul at the voice of Samuel through his command to destroy the Amalekites. He's going to tell them he wants them to destroy everything. And it's because of this. And we have to get a little history. I hate just reading a chapter and talking about it and giving a story without giving a background. And Exodus gives the background of where do these Amalekites come from, like where did this battle start, where did this back and forth, or what we would call the beef started at, where did the confusion start, where did they start, having a problem with each other. And the problem is that Israel never had a problem with the Amalekites. They had an actual problem with them because they saw them what we would call sitting duck. They just thought they can just come against them, and they didn't realize that there was a higher power with them. And this is where the real sin begins to come and say, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. And the Most High began to fight their battle. He fought the battle for them as long as Moshe's hands was held up in the air. And so that's the history of Exodus. We want to go back to see why is the Most High revisiting this situation. Like most people read the Bible and they'll say, okay, well, why you want to go kill them? Well, it's not out of nowhere. The Most High is not ignorant. I mean, like we looking at the most intelligent, mind frame of all. And so we're not dealing with, no type of kindergarten level here where all of a sudden he decided to kill somebody just to go kill them like that. He's killing them because of what they did when the children of Israel were at their weak stage. At this point, they're not even warriors. At this point, they're not even warriors. They're just coming from up out of Egypt, out of Mizraim as slaves. And they're coming out and they're actually trying to get to an actual promised land. And they're not battlers. You don't hear about any mighty men of valor or none of this stuff. So they had to solely lean upon the strength of the Most High. Okay, so at this point now, fast forwarding, he told Joshua to actually make it, remember this. He said, told Moshe, rehearse this unto Joshua and let him remember this. So from generation to generation, I'll have a problem with the Amalekites. So as we fast forward to Saul, Saul has the task because at this point, Saul is the king. And so everything that's going to go on is at the shoulders of Saul. It's right now upon Saul's responsibility to actually go and execute this plan. And so we're going to go to 1 Samuel 15 and look at starting at the third verse now.
First Samuel 15:3. And it reads, now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
You keep going.
And Shaul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telam, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Yehuda. And Shaul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. And Shaul said unto the Kenium, go, depart, get ye down from among the Amalekim, lest I destroy you with them. For ye showed kindness to all the children of Yashrael, and they came up out of Mizraim, when they came up out of Mizraim. So the Kenium departed from among the Amalekim.
Okay, and so basically this is the situation right here. So now it's time to execute. Now it's time to repay them for what they've done. The Most High say, vengeance is mine, I will repay. He set out the command and told Samuel what he wanted Saul to do. It's the word that came forth, and he said to destroy them all, not some of them. But the problem we have is we have another group that's actually among the Amalekites, the Kenites. And this is where it goes back to evil communication, corrupt good manners. You know, we're going back to this. It's like, well, that's no problem. But the problem is, he said, love not the world, neither the things therein. We're in this world, but not of this world. But if you're involved totally and engulfed into everything the world said do, taking every command they say and ignoring what the Most High say, when they get judged, you're going to get judged because you're actually a part of the world. This is why we have to come out from amongst them. And at this point here, he's telling them, you come out from amongst them unless you're going to be destroyed with them. What did Lot have to do? Lot had to come from out of Sodom and Gomorrah, else he was going to be destroyed. Fire and brimstone right there with them. And so Lot had to move from out of that situation, and he had to actually get out. But when his wife looks back, turns to the pillar of salt, because everything that was there, all the desires of that worldly place was still in her heart. Not want to leave, not want to be uncomfortable, not want to be in a position where you feel like, you know, you're less than, or you don't have the things that you should have. It's going to get to a point in time where you may not be as comfortable as you used to be. You may have to be a little, you know, uncomfortable just to actually survive. And so we have to realize that all these things that the world has given us, everything that's around us, is pretty much an illusion. You're going to have to learn how to go back into time and begin to live simple. And I say this because when judgment begins to come, you know, it's going to come upon those that are ignorant. You know what I'm saying? So it's like my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So we're going to have to get back. This is kind of getting off course, but we're dealing with judgment. We're dealing with one group, the Kenites, that needs to come from amongst the Amalekites unless they be judged too. And so we're in this world wrapped up into everything the world is saying do, and doing everything protocol like they want us to do it. We're going to get judged right along with them because we're not actually trying to look at what the Most High is saying do. He's telling you to don't do certain things, to come out from among certain areas, to come out from among certain, you know, comforts that we have. We have to at least get in a position where, you know, I thought about the other day, they at least started planting something, you know, started to growing something, because it gets to a point where they don't want you in the stores. You got to have some food. You got to have something prepped. You got to have some set aside so you can actually be able to survive. It's like we're looking at everything as it is now. And as we see everything is now, it reminds me of the movie, The Matrix 1, when we saw the world was one way, but when you saw the real world, it wasn't like that. Everything was destroyed. I mean, so what happens when we take away all the amenities, all the comforts and the, what we call them, the devices that they're giving us, devices and everything? When we don't have that, how will we function without none of it? how do you function without the media, without your telephone, without, the refrigerator? It's like, how do we function without all these things that make life so convenient? And this is what we have to look at. So I say this because I'm sure it was an inconvenience for the Kenites to have to come from among the Amalekites, because they had made a living there. They had begun to set their stone. They was there, their footprint was there. They had begun to, have a migration there. They began to migrate and actually have a lifestyle there. Everything they were doing was amongst the Amalekites, but they say, now it's time to be uncomfortable. You need to move or you're going to die. And it's like, you got to come from out of the world. You got to come from out of the way of life as you know it, so you can begin to survive when things get rough, because things got rough for the Kenites, because they had to just leave from what they know is home or die. That's it. And so what do you do at that point in time? What do you lean on at that? What did they have after that? And it wasn't that they was going to come with Israel. They said, come out from amongst them. They showed kindness to Israel as they began to come up out, as we begin to come up out of Egypt, coming out of Mizraim, but the Amalekites did not. They actually wanted to wage war. They tried to actually discomfort them. And so this is what we're dealing with. We have to look at, okay, when it's time to come out from amongst them and be separated, how do you function? And if your whole mind frame was only what they gave you, you're not going to be able to function, not at a high level. So you have to begin to function at the level in which the Most High has called you to function. And you can't do that being in the midst of a people that's sinning. And it's like, they don't have to be doing nothing now. This is the problem. Like when we're here, and I know this is sound like a broken record, but most of the Caucasians here feel like since they didn't do nothing, everything is okay. But the stage has been set. It's already set up. The design is already here. It's already set up where they're going to win. And it's like there's a head start that's already there that was set up by their ancestors. This is the problem. So this is why they're going to be judged based upon what happened, because it's still going on. They're operating in the system that's not fair. And it's like one or two people, 1,000 people can't change the system. The system is set up, it's designed for some to fail and for some to win. And that's what we have to look at. And we're looking at this saying, okay, well, why are the Kenites, why is there a problem with them? Well, it's not a problem with them. The problem is who they're amongst. It's who they're mixed up with. And that's why the Most High talks about us separating ourselves. It talks to us being set apart. And you have to be set apart. You have to be set apart from anything that looks like it's causing a problem between you and the Most High, that's causing the separation. And at this particular point in time, it was life or death. And that's what we have to look at these things. We can't look at things saying, okay, it's okay because of the norm. Like, they don't see a problem with these people because at the moment they're not coming against Israel. And that's the thing. We figure, okay, look, it's no problem. They're not doing nothing now. They don't have to do anything. I'll give you little Tyrone and little Billy do the exact same crime. One get 5 years probation, one get 10 years in prison. So, I mean, I'm just giving an example. So it's like, you don't have to be doing nothing now, because the Most High, remember what happened is the bloodline. That's why it's so important. We can't ignore things that the Most High said, even in the Torah. It's just the idea that we have to know that we have to live with practical application also. So there's examples that he gives all throughout when he talks about the bloodline, when he talks about things that we should be doing and what we should not be doing. And so at this particular point in time, if the Kenites do not come out from amongst them, they're going to be destroyed. If we don't come from out of the world, we're going to be destroyed with the world. And so we have to come out from out of the world. We can't depend on the world to survive when things get rough, because all they're offering is control. That's all they're offering. They just say, look, if you give us total control of your life and everything you do, we'll help you. But that's not help. No, that's dominance. So we don't want to deal with that. Go ahead. Thank you. Go to verse 7.
Okay. And Shaul smote the Amalekites from Shemelah until you come to Shur, that is over against Mizraim. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Shaul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, and of the oxen, and of the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good. It would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile and refuse, they destroyed utterly.
Okay, so this is the problem. So the word came to Saul from Samuel, And if you go back, I think a few verses, we say destroy everything. He won't destroy it all. He didn't say destroy some of it. He said kill it all. So I think that's verse 3 where he said go and kill it all. He said other destroy everything. Man, woman, infant, child, everything. And the problem is we want to try to have the mind of the Most High. And this goes back to why these people dying, why this happened, why they happen. Well, it's more to it. It's not no one thing why something happened to someone. You have generational curses. You have things that went on in the past that cause things now. And it's just payday has come. That's the thing. That's why we have to live under the banner of Yahushua HaMashiach, because it's too much else to worry about. And it doesn't mean that a lot of things just disappear that happen, but what it means that grace and mercy has come upon you to now you may not suffer some things as much as you would have suffered it if you wasn't under Yahushua HaMashiach. It doesn't just erase everything that went on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like getting saved doesn't just mean now there's a slate is clean and nothing mattered that went on. You have to deal with stuff, because if that's the case, getting saved should make someone that got raped baby disappear and everything go backwards. I mean, it doesn't happen. Life continues. I mean, like that, so it doesn't mean we have to be logical when we're looking at this. I mean, we look at this from a standpoint where people want to be in a magical world where it's like, now I got saved, nothing matters. Don't even pay your bills no more. You have an obligation. You ran the light, so you got to pay the light bill. It doesn't mean that now you get a pass to just cruise through life, because that means that you have accepted salvation. That means that you have accepted him as being king of your life, being the shepherd and bishop of your soul. And now he's actually the authority over your life from this point out. That don't mean that you just erase everything that went on, but he will have grace, mercy, and touch certain one's heart about things that went on. But at this particular point in time, he told them to kill it all. But the problem is Saul, with his natural eyes, don't see an issue. Right. He's not respecting what Moshe had to rehearse to Joshua back in Exodus, when he said, rehearse it to Joshua from generation to generation, I would have a problem with the Amalekites, so many words paraphrasing. But Saul, since he don't see the people doing anything wrong and they're going about their peaceful lifestyle, he doesn't feel the need to execute the plan in its fullest. And that's why I go back to saying now, just because a lot of them don't see nothing going on now, just because we're not being hung on a tree at this moment, they say, okay, well, it's over. Well, everything has been set up. It's already set already. The stage is set. Prison is already there. That's the new slavery. I mean, debt is the new slavery. Everything is set up and there's a disadvantage. Most of this stuff, when you're dealing with credit, go by zip codes and stuff. It's like they're looking at the less fortunate won't get a good interest rate most of the time, or a better interest rate than one that's in another area. Just you so happen to be able to be one that made it to an area that allows you to actually get more, do better. The problem that I see is with this is that our natural eye doesn't control what the Most High said do. This is the thing, and just since we don't see a problem, we feel like it's okay. Well, ain't nothing, like I say, nothing wrong with going to the club. It's like, but the point is, what's good with it? What are you going to do there that has something to do with the Most High? That's the thing. Are you going to get there and be tempted? I don't see anything in that environment. It goes back to evil communication, corrupting good manners. And just because Saul don't see Agag, the king, doing anything wrong, he don't see the people doing anything wrong. He see a big, pretty picture, families running around playing, but the Most High don't see that. That's the problem when it comes to nice versus righteousness. The Most High wants to execute righteousness. Righteousness is not kind. It's not likable. You know what I mean? It's not something that you feel that's in your best interest. You don't think that it's likable to go out there and just go kill these innocent people, quote unquote, but they're not innocent. That's the problem. So it matters. We just thank Yah for the bloodline that we come down through. That's the thing, because at this problem, they have the disadvantage. They just so happen to be in the wrong bloodline. They just so happen to be a part of a wrong ancestral group. That's the way I look at it, because it was their ancestors that did it. They didn't do anything, because remember, at this point, they've already established a kingdom. They've already made it from up out of Mizraim. They already made it from that journey. At that point in time, we deal with, fast forward, we have Joshua and we have Caleb. So at this point in time, it's years and years later. And so that since Saul doesn't see an issue at the moment, he feels like he don't have to obey the Most High. That's the thing. And since we don't see a problem with an individual, we feel like we don't have to cut them off. That's part of killing it all. I mean, anything the Most High is saying do is for a deeper reason than what you see. You say, okay, well, this person isn't doing anything wrong. He may see something 2 years down the line that can be detrimental, that they can introduce you to down the line that you don't need to be a part of. And at that point, you begin to go down this road and you say, okay, well, I wasn't going to do that. It could be some meditation, yoga, whatever, and just take you away from the Most High. Well, you met this person, Most High told you to, hey, look, don't deal with them. It doesn't matter how they're going to take it. It means that he said, don't do it for your sake. And so since you decide to do it anyway, now you run into a problem later. You done got involved in crystals and all kind of stuff that you shouldn't get involved in. But the Most High said, kill it all. And that's a relationship at that point. That's don't get involved in this right here. Don't get involved with this person right here because they're going to take you down the wrong road. And this we have to do. We can't look at it with our natural eye. You just have to be obedient. If he said don't do it, don't do it. You know, just since pork isn't killing you now, don't mean that you should eat it once you know better. You know, if you didn't know, you just didn't know, but you know, why are you going to do it anyway? You're going to do it anyway because you don't see an immediate reaction, immediate destruction to your body or anything, but you're not following the commandment of Yah. The problem is not what it's going to do to you right away. It's the fact that you were disobedient unto what Yah said do. Even if it wasn't going to do nothing to you, the very fact that you did the opposite or some of what he said do, you were disobedient. And this we have to look at. So we have to look at the command of Yah being greater than what we understand being a problem or not.
I read 9.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, start at 10, you're right.
Then came the word of Yahuwah unto Samuel, saying, it grieves me that I have set up Shaul to be king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto Yahuwah all night. Okay. And so later on down the line, as we go further, I'll show you why Samuel cried all night and why it grieved him. Because Samuel looked at Saul, you know, it's kind of being like, it's like, I would say like his protege in a sense because of the fact that as we look further on one of the scriptures, I'm going to give a little history on how he come about to meet Saul. Like Saul wasn't all this and that, you know what I mean? He didn't even have no confidence in himself like that. You know, when he met him, basically he was looking for some donkeys. You know, some donkeys that got away. He was looking for his daddy's donkeys, and it just so happened the Most High, you know, the people wanted a king, so the Most High said, I'm going to bring you Saul. They went to dinner and so on and so forth, but Saul was making excuses of why would it be me talking about the Benjamites being the least of the people. They're saying they didn't really have much, and he didn't think of himself as nothing. And now all of a sudden he's king, he wants to do things the way he want to do it. This is the thing, the Most High exalts you and give you some power and you abuse it because he's the person. The word say judgment must first begin at the house of Yah, like that. So judgments come to him. It's not coming to the people of Israel that he's dealing with. Samuel keeps reporting to Saul, not the people. And this is the problem. So people can't distract you. Like the Most High is not going to want to hear anything about what somebody else done. When the time comes, you're going to stand in judgment alone. You're not going to stand in judgment with no group. That's the thing. So you know, talking about what they're doing, this people's problem is we're supposed to fellowship and do things in unison and stuff, but we're not supposed to allow somebody to take us away from the will of Yah. We're not supposed to expect somebody else to have to answer for what we've done wrong. The Most High is not going to be, there's no one standing around. You're going to be, after this point unto man wants to die, after that, the judgment. And you're going to be judged according to what you've done, not according to what nobody else done. And so you don't have any excuses to actually, or anybody to blame for why you didn't do specifically what you were told to do. They wasn't told, Saul was told. And this is where the problem comes in at. So you don't have to keep reading that. So from 12 to 17, basically we're just dealing with Saul, you know, lying, you know, saying he's lying, talking about he did everything the Most High said do. So we have Samuel talking about what is this I hear, the lowing of the oxen and the bleating of the sheep. So he didn't do what he's supposed to do. You know, he did what he wanted to do. He did what he felt was the right thing to do. The words say destroy it all, but he destroyed some of it. He kept the best things when it came to oxen and sheep, and he kept King Agag. Yeah, he blamed it on people. He blamed it on the people, but you know, and I didn't go touch on it. But when it came time to say what they did, he said, "We did it." You know, he came back into the we thing. First, he say, if you look at 15, and get into that one, it say he brought up, he say he blamed it on the people. But then you get down to the end of the verse, say, but we have others destroyed. You know what I mean? Like that, the rest we have we. Now it's a we. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so that was something I, for the sake of reading, I didn't go through all that, but I was looking at that when I was studying it. He talked about the people for everything that was wrong, but he made himself part of the people when it was time to take credit.
That was the thing. You know what I mean? That's why I say this joker here. And this thing is just to stick there for a minute. We're not looking at these verses, but as you fast forward, when we know Saul is going to be rejected as king, but when it gets time for David, and David is anointed, but yet Saul is still claiming to be king at this point because he is technically, he talks about they have subscribed only 1,000 to me and 10,000 to David. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so he was always worried about the people for some reason, even though he blamed it on the people. It's like he leaned toward they and toward the people all throughout, because that's what he was worried about. What are you worried about what they're saying for? Like they only subscribe me thousands and David tens of thousands, like that. He was pissed about that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you look down throughout the rest of this, we'll keep seeing what he keeps talking about, the people, the people, the people. And that's what he's looking for, an scapegoat. But the people didn't get the command. The command came to Saul from Samuel. Judgment first begin at the house, but at this time here, it has to start with the head, and it has to come with who got the instruction. If the Most High said, go and take all this out, this is poison, I don't want you to have it. It can be a food or something. It can be something that's going to cause a problem. Hey, I spent this and that. You know, he don't care about you spend $400 or $1,000. He said, take it out, because you didn't know you weren't supposed to get it. Now, whether he make provision for you to recoup some of that back or not, that's not the issue right now. The issue is he said, take it out. And it's about being obedient. It's not about what you see right or wrong. So it's like blaming somebody doesn't change your disobedience. Like the people Samuel never came to the people. He came to Saul. And so Saul was chosen to be king. And so he was also chosen to carry out this task. But when he wanted to carry it halfway out, he's letting someone else, even if they were influencing him, it's still on him. But not, because he had the power to say, no, kill him, kill it, kill Agag. Don't leave nobody alive. But he left some alive, thinking that he can do a partial commandment. But that's no partial commandment. It's either you've done the commandment or you have not done the commandment. You okay? And so we can go to 16.
Verse 16 or?
Verse 16.
Then Samuel said unto Shaul, stay, and I will tell you what Yahuwah has said to me this night. And he said unto him, say on. And Samuel said, when you were little in your own sight, were you not made the head of the tribes of Yashraal? And Yahuwah anointed you king over Yashraal? Okay, so basically, when you didn't think you were nothing, he made you be something. Now you got the big head. Now you to a point you can't do what he said do. So let's go back to verse 9. I mean, not verse 9, but chapter 9 of Samuel, the same book. Samuel, go into chapter 9 and look at what did Saul think of himself? Like how he didn't even have any confidence, but now he can't do what the Most High is saying do. Chapter 9. Let me start up there. So we're going to look at verses 19, 20, and 21. So it was 1 Samuel chapter 9, verses 19 through 21.
Yeah.
And Samuel answered Shaul, and said, I am the seer. Go up before me into the high place, for ye shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I will let you go, and will tell you all that is in your heart. Pause it.
Now, we started there as a run-on, but at this point, remember, Saul is looking for some donkeys for his dad. And so since he can't find the donkey, he started looking for a seer. He was actually looking for a seer. And the reason why this is working like this, because the Most High is trying to let Samuel be introduced to Saul, because he wants Saul to be king. And so at this point, Saul is actually trying to find somebody to tell him where these donkeys are at. He's looking for a prophet, basically. Go ahead.
All right. So 20. And as for your asses that were lost 3 days ago, set not your mind on them, for they are found. And on whom is all the desire of Yashraal? Is it not on you and all your father's house? And Shaul answered and said, am I not a Benjamin of the smallest of the tribes of Yashraal, and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Wherefore did speak you to me? So to me.
Okay, so I just wanted to go there. He didn't have no confidence in the beginning, none at all. He didn't think nothing of himself. He dissed himself twice, so it's like, and he's looking for some donkeys. He's nothing. He's actually doing a task, a gopher type task at this point. And he goes from that to being king. And so he said, when you were small in your sight, in your own eyes, you were small. Now all of a sudden, Most High made you big, and you can't even do what he said do, pretty much, to paraphrase. And so it's like he didn't even think nothing of himself. He had no confidence at all. This we have is like same thing with people. I've seen this all the time. People that you've seen that weren't really much, and they get a power on a job or get a position, and they don't change for the better. For it's like for doing the tasks themselves, they turn to what we call just a tyrant, pretty much. I mean, you see them change it, and it's like it's okay to do your job and to be strict doing your job, but it's another thing when you start disrespecting people and you start doing stuff that's crooked. You know what I'm saying? You start favoring one over another one, and this person been here for long. This person, they know more than them, they got more skills, but you would bring somebody in that don't hardly know nothing and put them over this person and give them more money and take away from that person. It's like you're operating evil at this moment. But prior to that, you was nothing. You walked in the door filling out application with no experience, and then they rose you up and you begin to turn. But at this particular point here, we're looking at a situation where Saul just wants to do what he wants to do. Now that he's the king, he don't want to do what the Most High say do. This we have to look at. Your life is not your own. Like in this world here, if you're saying that you're under the Most High, you're supposed to actually operate as a servant of the Most High, not as your own individual. And this is the problem. Saul wants to operate as his own individual. And he don't realize when you're saying that you're king, at this point, what are you king? What are you king of? There's a kingdom here, and then this kingdom has judgment that needs to come upon those that actually came against it. And he don't want to carry the task out because he don't see a problem. King Agag looks appealing to him. He thinks he can use him probably because of his wisdom and stuff. But the Most High cares nothing about that. He'll raise somebody else up. He said, kill him. Don't look at his conscience or who he is. Don't respect this person. I want you to take him out. And he couldn't do it. I don't know. Agag probably ran some game to him or something. You know what I mean? You never know. But whatever reason, he decided not to kill him like that. So you can go to, I think you got to go to 18 now. Verse 18.
And Yahuwah set you on a journey. Oh, yeah, 15, 18. Right?
Yeah.
And Yahuwah set you on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore then did you not obey the voice of Yahuwah, but did fly upon the spoil and did evil in the sight of Yahuwah. So
he was tempted with the stuff, spoil. He was tempted with all the goods that they had. It's like, why did you, flock to that? When the Most High said destroy, he didn't say keep the gold and silver and everything else. You know what I'm saying? Keep the oxen and everything. He didn't say keep the sheep. He said kill it all and don't take none of that stuff. It's all contaminated. But since it was money, he decided to get it, or whatever we want to say it was, just spoil in general. You know what I mean? Like that, he just decided to take the goods, and he wasn't supposed to take it. Go ahead.
19. Oh, no. Did I read 19?
You can go to 20.
And Shaul said unto El Samuel, yea, I have obeyed the voice of Yahuwah, and have gone the way which Yahuwah sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil, sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto Yahuwah Eloheka in Gilgal.
Pause it. So how do the people have any power again? Like if you're the king and the orders went forth to you, aren't you supposed to be commanding the people? You're supposed to be the commander in chief. So once again, he's blaming the people. Go ahead.
And Shemiel said, has Yahuwah as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahuwah? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahuwah, he has also rejected you from being king.
Pause. So at this point here, Saul is rejected. And Saul is rejected. Saul stays king even while David is anointed, but he's rejected as being king. Remember, the Most High was grieving the fact that he actually had Saul as king. So he's been rejected at this point. And so basically at this particular point in time here, he's rejected because what he offered up as the commandment didn't go forth. It wasn't what the Most High said do. So as we go forward, Samuel finishes the job. Samuel calls for King Agag. Agag thinks it's peace, and Samuel cuts him into pieces because he has to finish this commandment that the Most High said do. So it was in him just to finish this. So Saul was rejected. Dealing with rejection, we're going to end this. Let's look at Genesis chapter 4, verses 4 and 5. Genesis chapter 4, page 28 for you, verse 4 and 5.
Genesis 4, verses 4 and 5 reads, and Abel, he also brought the firstling of his flock and of the fat thereof, and Yahuwah had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain, and to his offering, he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell.
Okay, so basically, this is the thing. And the reason why is because of the fact that one did what was right in the sight of Yah, and one didn't. No matter what went wrong, what happened is Cain thought he could offer anything. He thought he can just offer what he wanted to the Most High. And this is the thing, Saul, in this particular thing, when you actually kind of put this together, Saul wanted to offer what he wanted to offer to the Most High. You can't just do what you want to do. You can't just offer what part of this commandment you're going to carry out before the Most High. The Most High looked at this as a total execution, a total extermination. He wanted him to take all the people out and do everything he said do. If Saul had done this, he'd have been respected in the eyes of Yah, but he didn't do this. The same thing here with the Cain and Abel situation. Abel did his best. He did what he was supposed to do. Cain did what he wanted to do, pretty much. He gave him what he wanted to give him. He gave him at that point in time back then when the commandment was going forth, when he said give a tenth, he didn't say give a seventh or give a fifth. And he said, when he said offer up the best, he said offer up the best. Don't offer something that has an issue with that has a something missing, an arm or eye or something. There's something going on with it. You can't do that. And at this particular point in time, that's equal to what Saul was doing. Saul offered up what he wanted to offer up. He looked at it and judged the matter in his own eye. Not only did he not kill all the people, he kept, he didn't, kill all the animals. He tried to keep stuff for himself and keep the spoil. That's doing part of what the Most High said do. If he said do it, when he said kill it all, he means to kill it all, not to kill some of it. When you kill some of it, a little leaven, it said leaven the whole lump. And so at that point, you're actually just doing what you want to do. And so if you look at this for what it's worth, this whole thing is talking about when it's time to execute a judgment, when it's time to execute any issue that the Most High say that you have or something that you're doing and you carrying on with, you have to stop. If you have a problem with anything, like if you have a problem, with any type of situation that's going on, sometimes you can't go certain places, you can't do certain things because it'll trigger that. And that's the thing, the Most High say, well, I don't want you over here because you have this going on and you have an issue, then you can't do it. Certain things you shouldn't watch if you have issues. You got a problem with your eyes, man or woman, opposite sex, well, certain stuff that goes on, you shouldn't even open that door or that gate open. You shouldn't watch because it's going to trigger what it is that's going on with you if he said don't do it. This is the thing. So you shouldn't be trying to do that. You shouldn't watch anything that's going to actually open up that door where it gets you and begins to turn that appetite on that you were supposed to destroy. And so this is the reason why we can't look at things or what other people are doing, because everybody don't have the same struggle. Everybody don't have the same issues. So some people, it's okay to watch certain things. They don't have an issue in that area. But if you had an issue in this area, then the Most High say, look, I don't want you watching that, and don't let them influence you to do it. That's the problem. That's what we have going on. That's what I mean by you're going to be judged alone. Fellowship is one thing, but the word said, meat offend your brother, then don't eat it. This is what we're trying to deal with right here. So if you know this person has an issue with something, then you shouldn't do it. If I know a person, even if I'm just drinking on the feast days or certain celebration days, if there's a person that's a former alcoholic, then I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to introduce them or invite them to the situation. Either it won't be there, else I won't, be trying to get them involved in it because I know that they have that issue. That's me looking out in their best interest. That's my obligation. But at the same time, they have one when it's not, me, because everybody's not going to do the same thing. We have people that's going to say the heck with them or whatever. And that's when they have to kind of have some type of, guidance where they can say, okay, look through the root. I don't need to go over here. What they're doing is that because I have an issue. And so there's an obligation across the board, but then the person has one also, but it doesn't excuse me from mine if I see they have an issue. That's the thing. So it's what it means, kill it all. I mean, you have to actually use extreme wisdom in certain areas. Sometimes certain stuff that seemed like it's okay, like it seemed like it was okay to Saul to keep the animals alive, to keep the spoil, and to keep King Agag alive, but it wasn't okay. It wasn't okay, and it didn't look like it was nothing wrong. That's the same thing we're dealing with in natural practical application. Just because it doesn't look like something is wrong doesn't mean it's okay. If you have the issue, if you've been delivered from fornication, you've been delivered from adultery or anything, I'm just saying this stuff because if a person been delivered from it, then they don't need to be trying to do heavy mingling with the opposite sex if it's not someone of interest that you're trying to be exposed to or some of that nature where you spending time with for a later marriage or something. But just hanging out, chilling is not good. And we know through scripture that's not a good thing anyway, unless it's in some extreme business that need to go forth. Wisdom teacher needs to be some type of third party there as a mediator that can actually be a witness of what went on. That's the thing. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, we shouldn't just be doing anything just because we don't see a problem with it. Certain things are just not cool. It's not cool to be off in the same room, just you and them, or you going here and there with them, and it's not, what are you going to get out of this? Is this work related? Is this, like, what do we have? Like, we have to use wisdom and realize some things can get us in trouble. Some things can cause us to fall. Kill it all means to kill any type of conscious situation that you got going on or subconscious you got going on that's stopping you. Like some things give you the green light. And you have to kill these green lights that's across the board that's telling you, oh, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. You can't just do it anyway because of the fact that you don't see an immediate problem. There is an immediate problem. I mean, the problem is you're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself in a trap that you don't see coming. And as time progresses, you keep spending time with this individual, whatever going on, later on down the line, you fall in sin. You wonder, why did I fall? Well, you fell because you allowed yourself to fall. You didn't excuse yourself from the situation. So with that, we say the prayer we're going to go on for. Father, y'all, just thank you right now for just being, with us right now through this word. Father, y'all, thank you right now. We just begin to kill it all, kill things that's causing us to be hindered, that's causing us to be divided from you, Father, y'all. We just thank you right now for the word that went forth. In the name of Saint Yahushua, we pray. So be it.
So be it.